Welcome, everyone. It's nice to see you. There's already 50 and popping on to 51. As I see on my screen, they keep increasing the numbers. Thank you for finding time despite being so busy. I am Ruxana, and Suleiman, who is the host of the Zoom meeting. So he'll be taking care of the chat. So if there's some question that you want to ask, please leave it in the chat and he'll make sure that it is answered. Very quickly to say that we decided it was better to talk and share amongst each other the learning that was happening. And like Sharoon has just said, exponential for all of us. And so instead of saying, this is what you do, I thought it was better that we decide what is it that you are doing and we can take away for each other. And so here we are learning and sharing from each other. And and more importantly, I've realized it's so beautiful to see your names pop up. It makes my heart feel good. And so many of you say the same thing. It's like the connection that we are missing, and Zoom provides us that, just the name, and it's a great feeling. Quickly, some netiquette. We do a 15 to 20 minutes of the panel or the speaker, and then we open the floor to all of you. And I have noticed all of you have such a lot to add. And though we are 30 minutes into the session, we formally thank you and do a soft pause for you that want to leave the webinar, but I have noticed that most of you stay on for another like 15-20 minutes, and so these webinars actually go on till 45 minutes, and so it's a great conversation after that. Just to let you know that we'll also be recording your session for later use. And now going on to the topic, you know, all of us are saying that the world is going to change, right? We keep telling ourselves that all the norms of living as we know it are going to sort of really dissipate perhaps, and the world is going to start thinking of new norms and how to live. But more than that, I was looking back at my educational background, and we are always, when we talk of education, we talk of equity, we talk of equal opportunity, we talk of access. But now it has really magnified the need for inclusion of everybody, every student, every child into the process of learning. And it makes a very heavy demand on us in the campuses all across the world. And it is also magnified the difference and diversity among students. So how do you bridge that gap? And so I'm very, very happy that Cheryl Burke, as a first speaker, made time to come over, because she is in touch with what the students are going through, and she's very quickly going to set the tone for the rest of the two speakers who are going to talk about the solutions. But she's going to talk about the challenges our students are facing. She, as you all know, is the Chief Student Affairs Officer. And I was really delighted. You know, I was like, you have 100 staff, Cheryl? I'm jealous. But I tell you, the work you do with so many units that you are managing, I think even that probably is less than what you would require. And you have been here for 16 years. Wow. You have seen FC grow to where it is now. And there's an endowment fund in your name because of the alumni that were thankful for your services to FC, rightfully so. So over to you, Cheryl, if you could talk about the challenges that students face, and then I'll go to the next speakers.
Okay, thanks. First of all, I've stepped out of the Chief Student Affairs Officer role. I don't do that anymore. I'm in Academic Advising Office now, full-time and only. So I'm down to 4 staff, which is still more, Ruxana, than you have. I know. Sorry. I just there's basically 3 areas that I wanted to highlight for you all today, and none of them will be a surprise for any of you. And in fact, many of you are still dealing with many of the same things. The first area is just the practical life and emotional aspect of this. Students are really struggling. They have responsibilities at home that they don't normally have to deal with. They have, you know, if their parents are farmers, they're out farming with them now. They're not able to, you know, hibernate in the dorm and study. So they're really struggling with that. They're struggling just primarily with all of the emotional turmoil that goes on. So much of what we're dealing with, I mean, obviously all of us are struggling with that. So the first piece of it is that, and there's also a bit of insecurity that kicks in with many of our students in terms of food. Many of our students' families have lost their livelihoods, and so a lot of our kids are eating like one meal a day, or they're getting these subsidies that the government is sending out, and so all of that insecurity, that kicks into the whole hierarchy of needs thing. They need to be safe and secure and fed before they worry about their studies. So that's one of the things that that's really they're struggling with. The second one is technology. Again, not a shock to any of you. We have a lot of students, about 70 of them, who are unable to get any kind of internet at all. We are sending course packs for them, and you all have done an incredible job of getting that information to us, and it's really encouraging to see all of that put together. But beyond those students who we know have no internet access, there are other situations. For example, we have students who have maybe 4 hours of electricity a day. So even if they have the internet, they only have it in the middle of the night. Or we have students who are dealing with, they have one laptop or one computer in the whole family, and they've got 3 or 4 people that are needing to be doing online education. So just getting to the technology resources that they need has been a huge challenge for them. And then the third one, which is very much student focused, is that many of our students who are really struggling right now are freshmen, or they're first or second semester students, and they just don't have the skills to do self-learning. For our brand new freshmen, we only had them for 6 weeks, and they hadn't had all of the note-taking and all of the reading for content information and stuff. And so many of our students are struggling with just basic study skills. And so that's actually the biggest challenge for us that we can actually do something about. It's really trying to help them figure out how to do studying. But those are the 3 biggies: the emotional and personal aspect, the technology aspect, and then just the preparation that they had. Our senior students seem to be doing better with that. Not surprising, the students who don't show up for class when we're on campus are also the same ones who are not showing up for class online. But it's frustrating because it's much more obvious when you're online. It's much more clear that they're not there, and you're trying to track them down and keep up with them. So those are the 3 big areas, and I'm going to leave that. I'll be happy to answer questions at the end, but I'll leave it for the next people to go ahead and talk. So thanks.
What you were talking about, the freshmen, is jot on, because we are teaching learners to be autonomous, independent learners, and these students haven't got that know-how. I'll quickly go on to my second speaker, that's Dr. Sharoon Hanook. He is the chairperson of Statistics Department in Sharoon. I was going through your bio, and I was very impressed with, I think you are the only biostatistician in Pakistan, if I'm not wrong, an expert of that caliber. You have been in Case Western Reserve University with your PhD in epidemiology and biostatistics, and you will remain a fellow of the American Statistical Association for some time, a Fulbright fellow, the chair and student of the organizations and allocations committee at your old university, alma mater, and you have published internationally. And so you've been into a lot, and I know you are into a lot of researchers. You are also, I know, in the GLA, they were looking for you, for somebody like you, for some researches that they wanted done in America. So great to have you, and over to you, Sharoon, as to what are some of the solutions that you have found to what Cheryl has said.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ruxana. So, Cheryl has rightly said that the motivation and technology and self-learning is one of the 3 bigger challenges we are facing. And I think I will address these three problems. And we've been in touch with the students on a very regular basis. So kind of, we do have some answers to it. And I completely understand. When I talk with other of my colleagues, they have been doing marvelous. They have already dealt with, and I trust that many of the people who are listening to me today, they must have much better solutions than what I'm going to quote right now. But anyway, let me start with the first one, that is the key, and that is the constant contact. And since Cheryl mentioned about the motivation, yes, motivation is a big issue, and you can always attract your students. You can always convince your students to join in your online classes and into online learning by having a constant contact. So I have seen, I've been reaching out to students. I mean, I started it with the very first day. I sent out my Skype, my email, my text, my cell phone, my WhatsApp number, and I mean, I've given them all options I could have done it at that time. So, and the good thing is that students are keeping up with that. Students are actually responding by email. They're asking questions. Yes, sometimes the timing is very awkward. They're up from 4 p.m. to 4 a.m. So they most of the time they're communicating in the night. And I mean, that is one of the challenge, but still constant contact with the student is one of the key to keep them motivated and keep them engaged into the online learning. And second thing about technology, and in technology I would talk about two things that I mean, I've been spending a lot more time on Moodle, but I figured it out that Moodle is not the only thing that is the best solution to the technology issue, because as Cheryl mentioned, that many of them have technology issue. They're away from the internet. They don't have internet access all the time, and some other issues. So yeah, we also have to make sure that we do use Moodle. We also use email. We also use WhatsApp. Students are reaching out. Yeah, I don't share my resource on the WhatsApp. I do share when I upload my things onto my Moodle. I also email it to the students, so that if someone is not able to get to the Moodle, they can always check out their emails. And many of them have their emails on their phone, so as soon as I send out an email, they get the notification. And I've been experiencing students respond back right away. And few more things, I've been recording my lectures, which is really helpful. That it's not about the people who are always available online, but it's about the people who are not available online at all the time due to different technology issues, different infrastructural issues as well. But recordings are really helping me out. I've been recording my Zoom lectures, and I've been sending them via Moodle, and they can always download them onto their systems and have uh, kind of virtually they can join us later on. And one more important thing is that is the coordination among the faculty. So this is something I found very effective. There were some things in the beginning which I couldn't really think of, but as I spoke with my colleagues in my department, I figured out, oh wow, this is a very interesting solution. So it really helped me to actually improve my online experience, my learning, as well as my teaching. So, and I felt that the self-learning issue is something that's very important, because that's what my experience is, that my MPhil students, they are very responsive. So they are understanding, they know how to self-learn. I send them papers, they do read. I send them notes, they do read and get back to me. Yeah, with the freshmen, it's always a problem, it's always a challenge. But with them, the constant contact is a big thing. And one very important thing is that we as instructor, we have to be very patient with our students. I mean, we all are facing this problem of technology, and I trust that our students are also facing the technology. I am very relaxed in my deadlines. I do always send out a reminder that if someone is asking me that he need more time to submit an assignment, I write an email. Oh, this is the last time, and please, you can take more time to submit your assignment, but this is the last time. But this is something I've told my colleagues, as well as being the HOD of my department. I've told my colleague that this sentence is going to go with all of your email until the end of the semester. So you're going to be giving time to the students, let them absorb the whole thing. And there's they are dealing with not only with the learning part of it, they're also dealing with the anxiety, and they're also dealing with some other issues in their family life and in their families. So we as instructors have to be very, very patient, very patient with our students, and let us give them time to respond back to our communications. Thank you.
Sharoon, while you were talking and all those points you made, you are actually talking about multiple modes of communication. You're talking about multiple being flexible in your routines and allowing them. And there was something that Mavish, was talking to me, the Dean of Education, and she talked about the emotional well-being of the student and those dimensions that need to be considered. And so you have talked about all those points, and there are considerable points in including all students. I'm coming over to Dr. Robert Wetmore now. Robert Wetmore has been with us for quite some time, since 2008. And he teaches online courses, that's his plus, at the Liberty University, Virginia. And he has been using Moodle in teaching since 2005. Wow. And Bob, you, I must add, were instrumental in customizing our Moodle interface at the campus. And I always remember you and a few others for struggling when we were struggling to put that face up at CLT. Thank you so much, Bob. Over to you, because I know you do very personalized and exciting things with your class. So please share with us.
So Suleiman, can you give me control of the screen so I can share something? Okay, well, I don't have control. I don't think I'm good. Okay, I'm host now. Wow, I have control. Here we go. Okay, so what I want to do is just a quick PowerPoint, practical ideas to help include every student. This is a really important one, and the most difficult is keeping up with marking assignments. I'm behind today, and I've been behind almost every day. I'm 1 day behind today. But keeping up with marking assignments is a really important thing because as you do that, you can tell whom you are missing. You can spot who's behind. So that's one thing. A second thing is I download my Moodle course grades at least once a week, and sometimes it's been about twice a week. And what I do is I download it, and then I paste it into a master Excel spreadsheet. And the reason I do that is it's easier in Excel to be able to keep track of my students' progress. I don't know about you, but I find the Moodle gradebook to be kind of confusing. So I do that, and then I make sure that I watch out for students who have missed assignments. I set up an Excel form. Once I've found the students who are missing assignments, I set up an Excel formula that figures out how many assignments the students missed. And then I take the student's name, the student's, I create a message in Excel, and then I copy that and I send it to my students. I say, okay, guys, each one individually. So Sharoon, you've missed 3 assignments, and I'm wondering how things are going. Is there any way I can help you? Now, I have 3 different messages that I set up. If a student hasn't missed any assignments, I still send them a message. I say, congratulations, you haven't missed anything. I just program that into the Excel sheet so that I can keep things moving for them, because those personalized emails are really important. And I always try to add a personal sentence with the email. So I'm sending to each, I have 100 students this semester. Each of my students I'm sending an email message to that's personal, tells them how many they've missed, and asks them how I can help them, and then I try to write a sentence on top of that. Okay, if I have students who are not doing their assignments, I contact them. First, I try the emails. If emails don't work, then I call them. And I have found that that really makes a difference, is that phone call. I find out if the problem is a lack of funds for internet, and about 3/4 of the students who are having a hard time, well, maybe half the students I'm having a hard time with are students who need funds for internet. And I find out specifically if I can help them financially, if I put data balance on their phones, would that enable them to do the course? And with all but one student, when they get the help to put balance on their phones, with all but one student, they catch up and they get their work done. So I think that's kind of important. Some of my students are not sure, they're not doing their assignments because they don't know how. You know, this is all new, and they may need simple help. But let me tell you, the best help is instructional videos. So what I do is I create instructional videos for every kind of assignment. even reading assignments, even every kind of assignment, highlighting assignments, reading assignments. Even I have one for writing quizzes. In other words, if I have a special kind of quiz, I make an instructional video and I include that. And I make it with, I don't use Zoom actually, I use OBS Studio because I find it a little bit easier than Zoom, but Zoom is very good too for making instructional videos. They're super easy to make, and it's much easier than verbal instructions or written instructions. Students really like these instructional videos, and they don't take much bandwidth for the students, which is super important. Okay, then the last thing is using overrides. You probably know all about this, but I didn't even know about overrides until Saturday, like a couple days ago. And with an override, what I'm doing there is I am just opening up a quiz for one student by name. Let me show you what that means. Let's go to the next one here. Here is an instructional video on how to do overrides in Moodle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my assignment. When I click on the assignment, I have the gear up here. I'm going to click on the gear, User Overrides. Okay, now I have a student who has told me that he wants me to reopen an assignment. Here's the assignment here that he hasn't done. So now what I'm going to do, that's this assignment. So I do Add User Override. I'm going to give him a date of the 8th. This is an assignment he should have had done a while ago, but he didn't, and that's fine with me. I'm going to make it one attempt possible, and then all I have to do is find his name. I type his name in, click on it, I have the name, I have attempts allowed, I have that it's opened, oops, not April, May. 8 May, one attempt allowed, I save it. You just did it. That's an instructional video on how to do an override. Okay, so that's all I wanted to say. So I'll stop that share. I'm done.
Dr. Sana, you need to unmute yourself.
Hello. Thank you, Bob. You know, you do a lot of personalized work with students. So you reach out to them one by one if you do not see them missing from your classes. And what you're doing is a very effective mode of communication. You're actually sending them instructional videos, very small, bite-sized, so that they are very clear about the directions. And I think the point that online education wants of us is that our expectations and directions and communication should be very, very clear, that if you are not there to explain, everything is self-explanatory. I am going to say that there are now 71 of us. We have nearly completed our time, but we will continue. Those of you that want to leave are most welcome in another 10 minutes. But we will start the Q&A, and I see that Dr. Mavish was here, Sabah Khalil is there, she's an expert in online and computer science. There's some others, and I think what you will note is that this falls directly into the universal design for learning that has been proposed, that has always been there all over the world, and has become now more pronounced as a need at this time of online education, but that was a model put up for online education. And that talks about multiple modes of communication, multiple modes of student engagement, and talks about multi-mode engagements of formatting your assignments and your work. So you are doing all those things. Thank you so much. Open to the floor. G.
Thank you so much for all these very good talks. The only thing I just wanted to, sort of highlight is the fact that we are actually working as instructors in our own individual form. The students, they have to study all these courses, and they are doing it simultaneously. One issue that the students sometimes feel is that the students get the assignments from the various courses on the same day. So they have to struggle with that. So if there is some kind of a mechanism that, the teachers could somehow collaborate or work together in such a way so that the assignments on their deadlines are spread throughout the week or in the fortnight. So this will make life much easier for the students as well. So that instead of just looking at just me doing the work for the students one class, if we just take a bird's eye view and look a little higher and see how our students are doing, one student who's working for more than one class, so that will also relieve them from some of the distress or some of the tension that they are feeling at the moment. So I just wanted to add this.
Yeah, I just have one feedback to it, that we've thought of this thing in our department, and what we are doing is just imagining that majority of the faculty would be having their deadlines over the weekends. So what we thought is that we will not keep any deadline for the weekend, but we are keeping Tuesday as a deadline or Wednesday as a deadline, which is kind of gives students some time to relax. And we've done so because we really wanted for students not to be 24/7 students. We wanted them to have their Saturdays or at least one Sunday to be off. So we planned not to have any deadline on Sunday, not to have any deadline over the weekend, but to have deadlines on Tuesday or after.
That's great.
Haroon, I was just thinking that we think alike, because my deadlines are also normal in the middle of the week. So we have to ensure that not everyone thinks the same way.
You have to be kind to each other and to yourselves, because this was all a crisis mode. We did not prepare for it, remember? So be kind, and you have done a great job. And I think Mavish has just written that she wants to say something. Mavish, over to you.
Hello everyone. I just want to touch upon a few things that have been brought up by Dr. Sharoon. First of all, accessing the students, the communication, the teachers, the way they're burning out. Yes, I'm an instructor myself at the moment, teaching 3 courses, 120 students enrolled, and students have a different study pattern than how we are adjusting to the life. So one of the very important things in this situation is to educate students how to follow a schedule. When to use the synchronous communication modes and when to use the asynchronous communication modes. Everybody there has to be some kind of work pattern. Either 8 to 5 teachers are available on the synchronous communication modes, which includes the WhatsApp communication, WhatsApp chat, or other chat features if used by if you're teaching through blogs, and if you're using resources that enable students to utilize the chat feature. So there has to be some kind of structure. Otherwise, another suggestion to cope with this workload, it becomes a workload for the faculty members, because it becomes moral and professional and ethical responsibility to turn around and answer the students. And they keep on asking you, and they keep on waiting for the reply. So it's a good thing to schedule the communication with students on the same days that we had our classes on. For example, I'm teaching a course, and I used to teach it on every Tuesday and Thursday. I used to take the class. So I have asked the students to go back to the blog through which I'm teaching necessarily on every Tuesday and Thursday to check for updates and to ask me questions and to find answers. So it's not that I should be answering if somebody is writing to me at 2 a.m. in the morning and expecting an answer. This is not fair to expect from the teachers to turn around and answer at the same time. There have to be some kind of general ethics and professional attitude, which has to be depicted and manifested by the students in their actions. Another thing, role of instructors. We had this conversation in our earlier meeting as well with Dr. Roxana. I think that right now what we are missing on is a unified approach towards understanding what is e-learning. Right now, we have too many discrepancies amongst people. Of course, it was an emergency switching over to a new learning mode. But now that we are preparing for the summer semester in the same learning modality, we should have a stronger footing, and that stronger footing comes in when everybody feels confident. And everyone is going to feel confident only when we know that what are we into and what do we expect from us, what do we expect from the students, what are the protocols to follow, what is the system to go ahead with. And for this, I mean, keeping in mind some queries that had emerged from our department, the Department of Education, I have just created, a brief handbook for students. I don't know if I can share my screen at the moment. And how do I do that? Yeah. Okay. Just give me a minute, please. Yeah. This is here. Share. All right, this is a handbook. Basically, the purpose of this handbook is to prepare students for a successful e-learning experience. It's all about experience. One thing that I want to tell everybody, in e-learning situation, the focus should not be on short-term accomplishment of goals. It has to be on the broader picture. We are very fortunate. This is our black swan moment, I would say, where everybody is immersed in using technology, willingly or unwillingly. So this brings us to a point where we can create 21st century learners, and this handbook caters to some parts of that. I have created an e-learning profile and guidelines. There is a support bank. I don't want to take you through it. I mean, through all the sections, but things which are relevant to the faculty. One thing, students are not aware of their learning preferences. There has been this attitude shown by the students that they are also troubleshooting. And now it's enough of troubleshooting. I would say that now we all should be ready for embracing e-learning as a more permanent, as a more consistent methodology of teaching. So for identifying their own learning preferences, they have to be aware of their limitations, their own context. For this, I'm going to use an academic model and would try to explain it as simply as possible for students to be able to understand. The next important thing for students to understand is the cognitive domain of learning. When there is intrinsic motivation, when there is a will, there is interest, there is the need for doing it for self, not because you have to pass the course or not because your instructor has asked you to do that. And for that, there are some simple guidelines for self-regulated learning. It's all about the attitude. So these are written here. There are some tips here, and then very important of all is to understand for us as instructors that what is it that we want in our students. What are the core competencies that we are looking at? And here is a list of 5 core competencies that we are looking at to create e-learners, successful e-learners. It is mostly about attitude and embracing failure as a part of experience. So this is, there are some formatting errors in this handbook which have to be yet addressed, and I'm still working on these. If anybody would want to use it for their students, they can do that. I can share it with everyone, and you can contextualize it in your own context. There are some simple tips for students that how can they stir up motivation, how can they become digitally literate, practice self-directed learning. So these are the tips, and then finally the attitude. What sort of attitude are we expecting? Once the students are educated accordingly, I think these students are big enough to understand that why is this important for them. And that's it. That's it from me for now.
Mavish, I think you have done a great job, Cheryl. That's something that falls in directly, with what you've been saying about students' issues and how to deal with them. And she's got the genie in the bottle, I'd say. Mavish, you've done a great job, and it will make us look. One of the faculty made a point, I think Nukba it was, that our teaching is like teaching directed now. We have gone back to directing and being teachers and directing learning. And now what Mavish is saying is that it is taking us back to the learner focus, and it's making us see what the learners want in the different, you were talking about 21st century skills, I think, when you talked to me, how you want to incorporate those skills in a student at this point in time. And while you were talking, there were 70 people, and I've been getting messages, how can we have this booklet, Mavish? So you have to tell us how to get hold of this booklet.
I am still in the process of finalizing it together with Cheryl. So let us complete it. Let us put everything in one place, the things that are required to go in there. And then I can share it with either of you. I mean, it's an open resource, and I would be very happy if everyone can benefit from it.
Yeah, I think it should go onto the VR website as a very big resource. And I think your booklet also was a very good starting point for the faculty. So you're doing like really remarkable work in getting us there.
Thank you so much. I would just briefly want to touch upon the reason and intention. Why did I come up with this? We all think that these students are they are the generation, the digital generation. They are the students of today. But it was to my great surprise. I thought that these students are not digitally literate. I mean, using Facebook and Instagram just to share your pictures and to connect socially with friends is something else. But making a good use of technology for learning is an entirely different thing. And they need guidance. They need support. Most of the times, the demotivation arises because of repeated failure. And because this failure is, I mean, we're not presenting failure as a part of an experience. All success is a result of many failures. So this needs to, I mean, we have to teach the students that it's okay. It's okay if they have missed a deadline. It's okay if they didn't have the internet connection. These are real life issues in our situation. We are not from a developed country. We have a weak infrastructure, even in the urban areas. So we have to be mindful of all these challenges and accommodate students accordingly. Apart from that, digital literacy is very important for students to be able to understand that using technology for the sake of learning, for the sake of enhancing the skill set. And another thing, digital etiquette, how to talk to the instructor. This is our formal communication that is going on WhatsApp and on emails. And there are students who are writing in Roman English. There are students who are communicating at very odd hours, students calling 4 o'clock in the morning. So these are the things that they need to be educated. They don't realize it. They're not doing it intentionally. It's an all unintentional byproduct of their ignorance, I would say.
I think you're raising points of how in an online environment, your communication of expectations of student changes. And we take it for granted in a face-to-face mode, but they become more pronounced as we move on to this remote instruction. I have a question here from Salim Abbas to Cheryl. Is there a way to know the status of internet accessibility? Cheryl, over to you.
Yeah, so there are two things about that. One is, I want to say one thing, just go backwards just a little bit first. First of all, I have been dealing with lots and lots of faculty and sending in materials and those sorts of things and with students. And I just, first of all, want to say to you exactly what I want to echo what Roxana said. You all, please be kind to yourselves. You are doing an incredible job. I mean, I cannot even begin to express the amazing things that people are doing for their students. So please do take a deep breath and be kind and understand that you are doing the best you can. And all of us are dealing with these issues as well. All of us are dealing with taking care of ourselves. Many of you have families and you have other things going on in the middle of trying to do all of this. So please just breathe and know that while it is important for you to support your students, there's the analogy of, if you're in an airplane, which hopefully someday we'll all be able to do again, but you're in an airplane, the oxygen mask drop, they tell you to put yours on first because you can't help somebody else if you yourself are unconscious. So please put your own oxygen masks on. Take care of yourselves. Take time off. Don't answer emails all day long. Just really do take care of yourselves. In answer to Dr. Salim's question, we are looking at a couple of things. It is difficult for our students to know if they have online access. That's one of our problems right now, is some of them who did don't now. Some of them who didn't now do. So that is it's a moving target for us. So in terms of summer semester, there are a couple things that we need to consider. One of them is asking people in multiple section courses to designate one section that will be for students who don't have access, so that instead of everybody having to create that coursework, that only one person would have to. The other possibility is that we say to students that don't have access that they can't take summer semester. I hate to do that, but I'm not sure that I'm going to have the resources to send things. We are struggling right now to get USBs out. The courier services are very, very slow. We sent USBs 11 days ago, and we still have about a third of our students that haven't even received them yet. So we are needing to rethink how we do some of that as well. But we are still going to send them because we do have 2/3 of them that are getting them and that are using them. So there are a lot of, that's a really good question, and I wish I had a more definitive answer for you, but we are in the process of thinking about how to do that, and I would love to get feedback from you all in terms of how important it is for those kids to have summer semester, or is there some other way for us to do this? One of the things I've considered is maybe asking if you all would do independent studies with these students maybe in September, when hopefully they can get to where they have online access. Because, June, we aren't starting classes until the end of October. Our freshmen will start in the middle of October. So if we have that extra time, then maybe we can get them into Lahore and let them do these as independent studies, or so we're brainstorming right now about all of this stuff. So if you have ideas about how to do that, I would certainly appreciate that feedback. It is in our mind, and it is something that we talk about in executive pretty regularly. So I'm sorry I don't have a good answer, and I'm rambling, so I'm going to stop now. But just do let me know if you have ideas for that. I'd be really appreciative for that.
I think you covered all the points. The only thing, I think you said that there are only 60 students that you have not been able to contact. Did I hear it right, Cheryl?
We have 70 students right now that we're sending USBs to. And we have about 50 or 60 students that people have said to us they can't get a hold of, and we have not been able to find. I will say, if you're looking for students that you can't get a hold of and they're not answering their phones, WhatsApp has been our #1 way of getting a hold of them, because even if they've changed their phone number, their WhatsApp number doesn't change. So sometimes WhatsApping them on the phone number that you have sometimes is helpful. But we have about 50 or 60 that we just can't find right now. And I suspect there's any number of reasons for that. But I got a message from somebody today saying that their village has been quarantined and they have no cell service and no internet. And she finally has been able to get out of her village. They finally got off quarantine. And so she's been able to get to a friend's house in another area and use internet to send me an email. So we've got some floating around. But percentage-wise, the vast majority of our students are making this work, largely because our faculty has been so cooperative. And so, just willing to do whatever it takes, as Dr. Sharoon was giving examples of all the different methods he's using. And our students really do appreciate it. I think we were talking with one of the faculty the other day about, they only ever hear the negative stuff. And if they're not hearing anything, what does that mean? And I said, well, our students will let you know the negative. So if you're not hearing anything, it means you're doing a good job. Unfortunately, they don't come back and say, wow, you're doing great. But I do hear a lot of stories from students who say, I don't need help anymore. My faculty member has called me, or we've sorted it out, or we've worked out a plan, or they're giving me extended dates. So it really is appreciated. And I just cannot say how much I appreciate what you all are doing for your students. But please do take care of yourselves. This is a marathon. This is not a sprint. We're in this for the long haul. So please do take a deep breath, take a nap, do whatever you got to do, but take some time out.
Yeah. I think you got it all covered, but there was one comment from Sabah Khalil when you were saying that we have tried different modes, and I think she suggests a very good mode of radio, but that would mean some sort of resource installation at FCC itself. So what people are also talking about it, if we are here for the long haul, then perhaps, and I'm sure you are all doing it at that committee that's working through this, is like look at all the possibilities of resource banks that and the structural changes that will need to happen at FCC. So dear faculty, all of you there right now, from 70, we are down to 60, and we are 45 minutes into the webinar. Just to say that planning is, I'm sure, happening. We are trying actually in response to all of those questions that are coming, trying to get the rector to talk about what options exist and what are happening on the table. And hopefully there'll be a forum where you can hear to what he has to say. I think that would be a good idea. As you ask these questions and nobody has all the answers, I'm sure we will not have all the answers very soon, but we will have some idea of what options we are exploring for the long term. And I think listening to the rector will be a great idea on that, and other executive committee members. Any other questions? I haven't seen any other question except lots of thank yous to Cheryl, Sharoon, and Bob, and CLT. Is there any more questions that we can take, or we can formally close? If I see any more questions, I'm happy to. Kuratulan? No. There's lots of you. I'll just quickly take the names since you can't see each other. There's Ataur Rahman, there's Imrana Shafiq, Rachel, Babar Kamil, Khurram Laiba, I think I've taken your names, Khatija Burhan, Sarah Joan, Amreen, Aisha Anwar, Noshin Sabahat, Shabnam Malik, Asim Nadeem, Maheen Zia, Bushra Usman, Faria Hamid, Shazia Ilyas, Laila Zafar, Muhammad Ali, Shaista Jabeen, Ibtisam Khokar, Shajil Imran, great, Salim Abbas, Zahid Iqbal, Shahid Ashraf, Shahid Hina Abed, Faiza Jamil, Farheen Ibrahim, Umar Sharif, Tala Numan, Faira Janjua. Then there is Saklen, very good, Gule Mehek, Humna Ahsan, Shuja Wakar, Sumaira Lodi, Shehbaz Akhtar, Bilal Ahmed, Muhammad Zubair, and Asher Ghulam. I hope I haven't left any names. Thank you so much to each one of you for finding time to be with us. And I'm especially thankful to our panelists who found time to give such a fruitful talk. And we look for you to discuss and learn from. Thank you once again. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.